What is up, YouTube? This is Alucard AFK with another MTGO game with commentary. So we're back on Modern. This is a Modern Daily, and we're facing Jund.
Excellent. Jund is a pretty tough deck, and Affinity has a pretty good matchup in most cases, unless Jund gets a pretty crazy draw. But I think in most parts you have a really good chance at beating Jund, especially with Affinity.
Yeah, I agree. I think I steamrolled Jund most of the time. So opening hand, we have a Mox Opal, a Dark Steel Citadel, a Cranial Plating, which is always great, Thoughtcast, Steel Overseer, Glimmer Void, and Signal Pest. And I always try to mulligan until I get a Cranial Plating, unless it's just absurd. You know, you're mulliganing down past 5 or something. Usually we get something. A Thoughtcast even helps there. So this is a ideal hand, I think.
It's definitely an ideal hand, and it's definitely an ideal hand to rush the pace of the game to put pressure on the opponent.
So I just threw out everything: Dark Steel, Mox Opal, Signal Pest, and said Hut Hut. So out comes the Blood Crypt here. And we'll put out a Cranial Plating. Go ahead and equip him. He's a 4/1. He'll go ahead and swing in. He'll go to 16. Verdict Catacombs, Deathrite Shaman. Normally, that's pretty good, but we've already got some heat coming out. So Steel Overseer, Thoughtcast with our last mana, get an Ink Moth and another Steel Overseer. So pretty darn good. We'll swing
This guy's in a world of hurt.
Yeah, he's in trouble. So we'll swing in for 5 that can't be blocked, except for flyers, which he doesn't really have. And he'll go down to 10. And he'll put out our lands for exile the Verdict Catacombs for 1 mana. And out will come the Spectre. What do you think of this card, man?
Well, let's go ahead and read it for those. It says, whenever Sidrax's Spectre deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. That reminds me of the old card Hypnotic Spectre. It seems alright, but it doesn't seem very good in this matchup. For one reason and one reason only. Your hand's empty already. Your hand's void of any possible targets that discard would give him an advantage. Most times you play against other decks, they have ways to remove it. It's only 2 toughness. You have a flying blocker. You have any kind of blocker. It doesn't have some way to get through. Doesn't have fear. I think it's a very poor choice. Interesting choice, but poor choice. The Unearth ability is nice to give it a repeat effect, but really that's only in place for decks like blue-white. Really, I think that's the only possible solution that might be in there for, to try to get rid of some controlling cards.
Yeah, and the thing that really got me was, you know, this is turn. I mean, he's got 3 mana out. He did use Deathrite Shaman to get that colorless mana to play it. It's 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. That's pretty hard to come by in Modern, you know. If you're putting this guy out at this turn, you know, it's kind of pointless. I mean, what are you going to discard at this point?
Especially against Affinity. Yeah, against anything though, right? It seems like a bad choice in all honesty. The likelihood of it getting out on the board is slim. And what happens if you burn the Deathrite Shaman or removed it? Then he's just got a dead card in his hand.
Right. So I pumped up the Signal Pest here. And activate. I should have, you know, Corey always gets me on this. I should have activated the Blink Moth first and pumped him, but it really doesn't matter at this point. He's just going to block the Signal Pest with his Spectre.
Yeah, it's just added points on the board. Right now, he's just playing guys to block. That's all he's going to do.
Right. See, if there's a Maelstrom Pulse on my Cranial Plating, that's a good play. I think that's pretty good value. Not exactly what the card's really designed for, but if I had multiple Cranial Platings, I guess it would be better. But that is not going to help him. He really needs something else.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean,
it's like you double activate and swing in. I mean, that's
exactly. You can't block flyers, and I'm going to pump them up to 2 here, so So now the Blink Moths are 2/2s, and I'm swinging over his head. So I wouldn't swing in with the Steel Overseer anyway, you know? I'm just going to pump my guys, so...
Right, he's just a utility.
So he'll go to 6. He'll crack his land, bring out a Breeding Pool. And I really did think that there would be some sort of sideboard hate here for some reason. I was just like, you know, I've seen some weird... In the dailies, I've been seeing some weird mainboard cards, so I was like, really? And so he'll exile the Signal Pest, and he'll gain 2 life. Again...
Last-ditch effort to stay alive.
Yeah. So he's down to 2 now. And he cracks his Misty Rainforest for 1. And he'll bring the Spectre out again. Again, I'm not quite... I would have just conceded, I think, if I knew that I just had ground people and I have Blink Moth still. So...
Yeah, I don't understand what that play was. Why, and why, in my opinion, why didn't he unearth the other one as a double flyer blocker? Why did he not choose to unearth this one and have 2 flyers with 2 mana open? I didn't understand that at all. So that's just a poor choice on his side. Right.
So he concedes the game now once he sees what I'm going to do. I'm essentially going to pump both Steel Overseers. So either one of them could swing in and kill him. So we'll go on to game 2. Game 1 was Steamroll.
Oh yeah, Steamroll indeed. That was a good game handshake right there.
Okay, so we're on to game 2, and opening hand we have a Welding Jar, Thoughtcast, Springleaf Drum, Darksteel Citadel, a Dispatch, sideboard card, and 2 Ink Moths. And normally I would say, okay, we don't have Cranial Plating, but against this deck, I'm just going to go for the Infect damage at some point, and it's going to win.
I really like the Dispatch over the Dismember. It just has a lot more versatility. It doesn't, cause you to lose life in a game of life points. That's very relevant. And in cases where they leave a blocker back and say he's already removed a bunch of your stuff and you just need to get a couple points in, it also just taps a guy. So it's pretty versatile in my opinion.
Yeah. So turn 1, he's probably got Inquisition here. Thoughtcast, Inquisition. I was actually expecting that, and wasn't sure, but it was pretty much going to be Dispatch. So that's exactly what he goes for. That doesn't really hurt us much. I mean, it's a sideboard card. So we put the Ink Moth out, the Welding Jar, Springleaf, and we'll go ahead and pass the turn. So here comes Tarmogoyf. So already, you might think that Affinity would be behind here, but we're actually setting up for a pretty good play. So Tarmogoyf's not that big right now. We're not worried about him. And here comes the Cranial Plating, like a champ.
Right off the top. Can't fail with a top decking Cranial Plating there. That's nice.
So go ahead and put Steel Overseer out. Use our Springleaf or Ornithopter. We're essentially just getting some blockers in case something crazy happens here. And he goes ahead and terminates the Steel Overseer, which was a good play, I guess. But I probably would have held it back for the Ink Moth, which is about to do Infect damage. So.
Oh yeah, he's not planning ahead. You're setting up the future. He's playing the moment. It's two different play styles, and one's gonna pay off.
So we got a Volt Scourge, and that's happening. So Cranial Plating onto the Ornithopter first. We'll go ahead and get some damage in. He'll swing in with his Tarmogoyf. And then he puts out the second Tarmogoyf. So this is where I decided to switch to Infect damage, because we're not going to be able to race him.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a 2 pile of beats on the board that you just got to be able to deal with for sure.
Yeah, so they're 2 4/5s. We do have Edge Champion. He's a little slow in this. We have Volt Scourge. Lifelink would be relevant, but rather than race him, we'll just go for the Infect damage here. So we'll go ahead and equip Inkmoth Nexus with Cranial Plating. He's an 8/1 Infect. Go ahead and use our Springleaf Drum to put Volt Scourge out. So it's 9 Infect. So that's almost game over right there.
It's definitely a very good tactic right there where he has little to no options.
So we'll let him swing in, and we'll even block with Volt Scourge here to get some life.
Because that's always good.
Because essentially we don't need our artifact count anymore. I mean, we have to swing in for 1 infect damage. And out comes Dark Confident, so a little late, Bob.
Good game handshake, Bob? Good game handshake?
Yeah, he just came out to do the handshake for him.
Yeah.
So Springleaf
there's
Drum.
Another artifact count if you really want it.
Yeah. So Ink Moth, Cranial Plating again.
Have a nice day.
And here he does have 2 cards open, and I was just like, this would be way too easy. You know, he's got another a Terminate in his thing. He's got something, right? You know, surely in a modern daily, he's got something in hand. 2 cards in hand with 2 open mana.
Man, I don't know.
Nothing.
And 2 cards into nothing. And I think 17 poison counters is pretty much a good game.
Exactly. So that will end the second game of the match, and this was the daily that I went on to do horribly against Black-White Tokens and Merfolk, but what are you going to do? This was a good game. I had fun. It was a fun daily, and, you know, I'm more prepared for that meta now. I definitely will not think twice about putting Whip Flares in there.
Yes, Whip Flare, obviously, when you're playing against those decks, you're going to need them because Affinity really has one weakness, and it's going to be those small guys that keep coming out in succession to prevent you from getting in there, especially when all of his little 1/1 guys turn into 2/2s and they're all flyers. That is pretty bad. About your only win condition at that point is Etch Champion, and if you don't have it, it's all over with.
Exactly. So, comment, like, and subscribe, guys. We'll catch you later. Thanks again, Corey.
No worries. I'm glad to be here. Talk to you guys later.
Later, guys.